The woman repeated the same motions with her hands every day, occasionally kicking the scarf she was knitting beneath her feet. The scarf grew longer and longer, and soon it reached the edge of the cliff. It slipped and fell off. The woman immediately increased the speed of her knitting, but she was pulled to the ground by the scarf. It was then that she realized something was wrong. Without saying a word, the woman carried a chair to the edge of the cliff. She looked around, placed the chair down, sat on it, and picked up her knitting needles to continue knitting. At first, she just wanted to knit a scarf, but gradually, she grew accustomed to the repetitive motion, and the scarf kept getting longer and longer. She thought about giving up at one point, but when she saw the scissors, she noticed there were still many balls of yarn left. So, she picked up the yarn again and continued her knitting. The knitted scarf grew longer and longer, and soon it reached the edge of the cliff again. It began to fall, and the woman increased her knitting speed once more. But she was pulled to the ground by the scarf, and this time she realized something was wrong. She followed the scarf to the edge of the cliff and watched it falling. She couldn't help but knit faster and faster. But when the scarf had all fallen, it pulled her down with it. The woman just knitted even faster. As the scarf grew longer and longer, she slowly climbed back up. Her hands moved faster and faster, and the scarf fluttered in the wind. At that moment, she enjoyed the pleasure that knitting brought her. But the yarn ran out, and the scarf suddenly fell. The woman began to struggle with the scarf. She was about to be pulled off the cliff when a strand of hair suddenly fell down. The woman seemed to have found a last straw and started knitting with her hair instead of yarn. But her hair was limited in length. When it ran out, the woman panicked and tried to find a new way. But the scarf was relentless and dragged her away. It was then that she remembered the scissors. She wanted to cut the scarf, but it was too late. As she kept knitting, the scarf had become too long and too heavy, and it pulled the woman into the cliff. A long time later, a woman with short hair slowly climbed up from the bottom of the cliff. She had bitten her hair off with her teeth and managed to survive. But she had already grown accustomed to knitting and unconsciously continued the motion. It was then that she realized the seriousness of the situation. So, she threw away the knitting needles and picked up the scissors, thinking she would start a new life. But she fell in love with the sound of the scissors clashing and began the cycle all over again.